When humans say hold my beer, the galaxy instantly raises the threat level to maximum. The incident. The peaceful planet of Talvorn was known throughout the galaxy as a center for advanced engineering and technology, and every 4 years it hosted the Galactic Innovation Summit. Aliens from all corners of the galaxy gathered to showcase their most cutting-edge creations, from interstellar propulsion systems to advanced healing technologies. This year, for the first time, humanity had been invited to participate. Most other species viewed humans as interesting but unremarkable. Sure, humans were resilient, but their technology was considered primitive compared to galactic standards. They were known more for their peculiar habits and quirky sayings than anything else. At the summit, there was an unspoken challenge among attendees, a colossal anti-grav construction test. The Talvorn High Council had set up a massive gravity manipulation field, one so powerful it could distort even the heaviest metals, making them impossible to control by traditional means. No one had yet managed to stabilize anything in the field, let alone build a functioning structure. Most species attempted and failed. The Krell, known for their strength, used sheer power to force metal beams together, only to have the beams crush under the distorted gravity. The Ulthari, known for their advanced tech, created stabilizing devices that malfunctioned and fizzled out under the intense gravitational distortions. The challenge was nearly abandoned altogether. It was then that a human engineer from Earth named Jamie Vargas stepped forward, scratching her head as she surveyed the debris of failed attempts. She'd been silently watching the aliens' efforts, analyzing the field and considering an alternative approach. Finally, she took a deep breath, turned to the nearest Talvorn official, and said the words that would echo throughout the galaxy. "Hold my beer." The room fell silent. Alien officials glanced at each other, confusion evident on their faces. In human culture, this phrase was known to signal reckless confidence, but most of the galaxy had no clue about its implications. With a smirk, Jamie placed her drink on the table, rolled up her sleeves, and walked toward the distorted gravity field. She tapped into her personal toolset, pulling out a few makeshift items, some fiber cables, magnets, a handful of titanium rods, and a basic AI assistant that seemed laughably simple by alien standards. The aliens watched with growing curiosity as she approached the field. Jamie carefully assessed the gravitational distortions. Using a combination of intuition and some calculations scribbled on her wrist, she attached the cables to the titanium rods, wrapping magnets around each joint and adjusting the positions with the skill of someone who had spent years in unpredictable environments. Does she realize she's walking into a Class 7 gravitational distortion field? One authorized scientist murmured, his eyes wide. "She's doomed," a Krell warrior scoffed, crossing his massive arms. But Jamie simply grinned and dove into the field, every move calculated, her confidence unwavering. Her hands flew over the equipment, modifying the rods in real time, creating a flexible structure that swayed and stabilized instead of resisting the gravitational pull. With each adjustment, the structure took shape, a web of titanium rods and magnetic stabilizers that defied the field's pull. The aliens were stunned, eyes fixed on the structure, which now stood firm despite the fluctuating gravity. She stepped back, dusting off her hands, her grin widening as she watched the impossible structure hold. "There," she said, folding her arms with satisfaction. "Now, that's how humans do things." The crowd erupted in astonished murmurs, alien delegates gawking at the stable structure. It was the first and only successful construction in the field. The Talvorn High Council officially declared her the winner, a title that humans had never before claimed. A Talvorn diplomat approached Jamie, his 3 eyes blinking in disbelief. "Human Vargas, your solution is unlike anything we've seen. How did you manage it?" Jamie chuckled, picking up her drink and taking a swig. "Sometimes the trick isn't to fight against the forces around you, you've got to work with them, even if it looks like you're winging it." The incident was reported across the galactic news networks, the headlines highlighting the unusual phrase she had uttered before beginning her feat. "Human engineer says hold my beer, performs impossible task." It wasn't long before the phrase "hold my beer" became associated with humans stepping into impossible situations with almost reckless confidence and succeeding. Across alien worlds, the phrase spread like wildfire, its meaning both legendary and ominous. And while humanity hadn't yet noticed, alien diplomats were already placing humans on their high alert lists. Whenever humans muttered those 3 words, other species began raising their threat levels, just in case. Little did the galaxy know that this was only the beginning of humanity's audacious feats. Rising tensions. As the Galactic Innovation Summit came to a close, Jamie Vargas and the other humans departed Talvorn, unaware of the ripple effect her phrase, "Hold my beer," had created. Reports of her feat spread rapidly across galactic networks. Alien diplomats, officials, and even military strategists began cataloging human behavior, trying to understand what made humans so capable of tackling impossible challenges. The phrase itself became the focus of intense study. Most aliens found it puzzling. Why would a human declare such words before attempting something outrageously risky? In the alien collective consciousness, "Hold my beer" quickly gained a legendary, even ominous, meaning, a code for human ingenuity and a signal for possible disaster or triumph. The Krell, a warlike species with a strong sense of pride, were the first to voice their concerns at the Galactic Council. "Our intelligence reports that humans regularly engage in reckless behavior under this hold my beer mindset," Krell Commander Gorn snarled, his large, red-scaled frame casting a long shadow across the council floor. "Their feats defy logic. If we do not prepare for their unpredictability, we risk being surprised." The Council of Xylar, known for their strategic prowess, seconded this concern. Their ambassador, a quiet, calculating alien with piercing blue eyes and 4 slender limbs, nodded thoughtfully. "We need more information." Humans appear to adapt instantly, turning failures into unexpected successes. In a rare moment of interspecies unity, alien governments began to share intel on humans. Diplomatic missions were re-evaluated, and ambassadors were warned to remain cautious around humans displaying signs of hold my beer moments. On the planet Zaratha, an official gala was held to celebrate the successful mining of rare iridium from the asteroid belt that encircled their planet. The gala was formal, attended by dignitaries from over 100 star systems, and included multiple events to showcase Zarathan achievements. Several human engineers had been invited, one of whom was a young mechanic named Darius Cole. Though he was simply a technician on a trade vessel, his mechanical skills had earned him a reputation as a miracle worker. Darius was eager to see the galaxy's finest technology up close, but his curiosity got the better of him when he stumbled into a restricted sector of the gala, a sector showcasing a newly developed propulsion drive from the Zarathans. The propulsion drive, proudly displayed as an unbreakable, infallible marvel, had just been unveiled as the most stable and powerful system to date. A few Zarathan scientists had gathered around it, demonstrating its power output and gushing about its resilience under extreme conditions. But Darius, hands in his pockets, couldn't help but point out a few potential flaws in the drive's design. "Excuse me, but your coolant valves look too small for this power output. At high thrusts, it'll overheat," he remarked. The Zarathan scientists glared at him, insulted. "Our technology is superior. This drive is the most advanced in the galaxy." Darius shrugged, trying not to take offense. "Mind if I take a closer look?" The Zarathans rolled their eyes, certain this human couldn't possibly understand the nuances of their engineering. "Be our guest, see if you can find any flaws." Darius gave a friendly nod and then, with a wry smile, uttered the words that had begun echoing across the galaxy. "Hold my beer." The Zarathans bristled, recognizing the phrase and feeling a sudden pang of unease, but it was too late. Darius was already diving into the propulsion drive's inner workings, using a wrench, a few metal clamps, and a small plasma welder he always kept in his toolkit. In a matter of minutes, Darius rerouted a few pipes, bypassed the overheating risk, and reconfigured the drive's power intake. When he stepped back, the Zarathan scientists watched in stunned silence as the propulsion drive powered up, running smoother and more efficiently than before. Darius grinned, wiping his hands on his shirt. "Just a few tweaks. This thing would have overheated in high-pressure zones, but now, you're good to go." The Zarathan scientists stood, open-mouthed, as Darius casually walked off, leaving behind a drive that worked better than ever. News of his feat spread quickly through the gala, and a cautious murmur rippled through the alien guests. Humans could do the impossible at the drop of a hat. As the evening continued, the Zarathan High Council held a private meeting with a few galactic representatives, visibly disturbed by Darius's intervention. One of the council members shook his head, sighing. "It seems that whenever humans utter that phrase, they manage to achieve the unthinkable. We must re-evaluate our protocols when humans are involved." A Xylari official leaned forward, voice tense. "If one of them can reconfigure our top propulsion system with basic tools, we must consider that humanity may pose an unprecedented threat. Their resourcefulness under pressure is alarming. And so, the Galactic Council drafted a new regulation, the Human Protocol. Anytime a human was heard saying "hold my beer," Galactic Council personnel were required to raise the alert status. A new term was even coined, human-triggered threat level. Word spread quickly among the galaxy's leading factions. Alien dignitaries began to take extra precautions when humans were involved, and military strategists warned their leaders to avoid underestimating them. The Krell strengthened their weaponry, the Ulthari upgraded their defenses, and even the Xylari masters of strategy began developing contingency plans specifically for human encounters. But for humans, it was business as usual. Few of them knew that their casual confidence and creativity under pressure were inspiring this level of fear, and those who did know, well, they found it both amusing and strangely empowering. From this point on, whenever a human said "hold my beer," the galaxy listened, knowing they were about to witness something unforgettable. The Galactic Challenge. The impact of the "hold my beer" phenomenon reached a tipping point when the Galactic Council announced a grand interspecies challenge, the Tri-System Trials. Held every decade, the trials brought together the galaxy's most advanced species to compete in a series of rigorous events designed to test strength, strategy, and survival. This year, humans were invited to participate for the first time, adding an unprecedented layer of excitement and tension. The trials were to be hosted on Veshna, a massive artificial world orbiting 3 stars, with each challenge designed to push competitors to the absolute limit. Some of the galaxy's strongest and most advanced species entered the competition: the Krell, the insectoid Ulthari, the technologically adept Xylari, and the mysterious and reclusive Veskari, among others. Then, the humans arrived. A small delegation from Earth entered the trials, led by Captain Erin Reese, a decorated pilot with a reputation for thinking on her feet. The aliens took one look at her and her team and laughed. They were lean, looked relatively unarmored, and came with equipment that, to alien eyes, seemed laughably basic. "Are these humans truly intending to compete?" sneered a Krell warrior, his massive form towering over Erin and her team. "They would be better off spectating." Captain Reese didn't miss a beat. She looked up at the Krell warrior, smirking. "Keep an eye on us, we might surprise you." The Krell rolled his eyes and stomped away, while Erin's team prepared for the first challenge, a zero-gravity obstacle course with intense gravitational shifts, designed to knock competitors off balance and send them tumbling into hazardous terrain. The Xylari, Ulthari, and Veskari were confident. They had trained in zero-G from birth. The humans, however, had a different strategy in mind. They used their grappling cables, not to stabilize themselves but to swing from obstacle to obstacle, making use of the unpredictable gravitational shifts to boost their speed. Aliens and spectators gasped as the humans breezed through the course, swinging effortlessly as though they had rehearsed it 100 times. Halfway through the course, one of the human team members missed a swing and went hurtling toward the course wall, which would normally result in elimination. But before anyone could react, Captain Reese threw her grappling hook and latched onto her teammate, using their combined momentum to swing them both to safety. The aliens watching gaped in shock as the humans finished the course without losing a single team member. The Krell warrior, previously so confident, blared in frustration as his own team struggled to keep up. As they walked off the field, Captain Reese turned to her team, chuckling. "Well, that was fun. Anyone need to catch their breath?" "Hold my beer," one of her teammates joked, and they all laughed as they left the field. The phrase spread quickly, and alien spectators began murmuring in nervous excitement. The second event was an endurance test in a simulated desert environment with temperatures exceeding 150 degrees Fahrenheit. The trial was notorious for its heat and dehydration hazards, and even the Veskari, a species evolved to withstand harsh climates, struggled in the sweltering conditions. When it was the humans' turn, the other species watched with morbid curiosity. Unlike the others, Erin's team didn't bring complex cooling suits or energy shields. Instead, they wore light suits and carried packs filled with electrolyte-infused water and heat-reflective blankets. As the trial progressed, the humans showed an adaptability the aliens couldn't match. Instead of moving in a straight line, they navigated the desert using pockets of shade and rested periodically under the reflective blankets, minimizing heat exposure. They conserved energy and stayed hydrated, pacing themselves as they pushed through the unforgiving landscape. At one point, a Xylari competitor collapsed from heat exhaustion nearby. Without hesitating, Aaron's team stopped and administered water and electrolyte tablets, using their emergency cooling blankets to bring the aliens' temperature down until medics arrived. When the humans crossed the finish line, they were barely sweating, and when asked why they had stopped to help a competitor, Captain Reese simply replied, "Survival is about working with your environment, not against it. You never know when you'll need an ally." The spectators, who had initially viewed humans as underdogs, began to see them in a new light. They weren't just surviving, they were thriving, and doing so with a strange blend of cooperation, resilience, and humor. The final event was the most anticipated, the Labyrinth of Orus, a twisting, dangerous maze filled with deadly traps, requiring keen senses and quick reflexes. Competitors had to navigate through high-voltage electric fields, gravity wells, and shifting walls while gathering key fragments scattered throughout the maze. Whoever reached the center first with all fragments would be crowned the winner. When Captain Reese and her team entered the labyrinth, she paused, surveying the environment carefully, while the other species charged in, relying on brute force or advanced technology. Aaron's team took a different approach. They observed the patterns, communicated constantly, and helped one another over obstacles, avoiding the traps rather than setting them off. At one point, they hit a dead end with a high-voltage field. Aaron turned to her team with a smirk and a raised eyebrow. "Time to get creative," she said. "Hold my beer," a teammate muttered with a grin, sparking laughter despite the danger around them. Aaron grabbed her toolkit and used a simple, makeshift grounding cable made from scraps of metal she had picked up along the way, creating a path that bypassed the high-voltage field. Her team followed, picking up key fragments as they moved toward the center. As they neared the finish, the human team found themselves neck and neck with the Krell warriors, who had managed to muscle through the traps, albeit at a slower pace. One wrong move, and they could lose the race. Aaron took a deep breath and sprinted forward, taking a chance that the Krell didn't dare to. With the last key fragment in hand, she leapt over a collapsing bridge and crossed the finish line, the Krell stumbling behind. The labyrinth erupted in cheers as the human team claimed victory, having completed every event with resilience, adaptability, and sheer determination. After the trials, Captain Reese and her team were the talk of the galaxy. The phrase "hold my beer" had taken on a new level of respect and fear. Council officials declared humans unpredictable and formidable, officially raising humanity's galactic threat level. Some alien leaders even passed protocols to proceed with caution whenever humans participated in any competitive or collaborative events. Back in the human delegation, Captain Reese was congratulated by her team, who laughed and recounted their favorite moments from the trials. She raised a cup and smiled. "To doing the impossible," she said, her voice filled with pride, "and to making sure the galaxy never forgets who we are." A rising legend. Word of the humans' victory in the Tri-System trials swept across the galaxy, cementing their reputation as a species capable of handling the impossible. News networks buzzed with footage of Captain Reese's daring feats, and alien analysts scrambled to understand the humans' unique mindset. Many alien leaders, however, felt threatened. The Council of Xylar, led by a calculating figure named High Strategist Laxon, saw humans as a potential destabilizing force. Meanwhile, the Krell warriors, humiliated by their repeated defeats, prepared for a show of force. Among the galaxy's elites, "hold my beer" became a phrase of caution, one they used whenever facing situations that called for drastic measures. It was against this backdrop that a new threat emerged, an alliance of warlords, mercenaries, and rogue scientists, calling themselves the Draken Syndicate, began launching attacks across the galaxy. They targeted isolated colonies, research stations, and resource outposts, seemingly unstoppable. Their ships were equipped with cloaking technology and weaponry far beyond what the galaxy had seen. The Council attempted to resist, but with each battle, the Syndicate grew bolder and stronger, terrorizing entire planets and civilizations. In a desperate attempt to counter the Syndicate, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session. High Strategist Laxon stood before the Council, his expression grim. "The Draken Syndicate has amassed technologies that defy even our best defenses," he began, his voice carrying a note of frustration. "Our conventional strategies have failed. We need unconventional assistance." Reluctantly, he turned to the human delegation, where Captain Reese and her team sat quietly, awaiting the Council's decision. "Captain Reese," Laxon continued, his tone filled with reluctant respect, "the galaxy requests humanity's assistance." Reese raised an eyebrow. a hint of a smile tugging at her lips. You're asking us to get involved? Laxon took a deep breath. Yes, you've shown a resilience and creativity in the face of chaos that few species can match. We need what you bring. Captain Reese looked to her team, who nodded, their faces filled with excitement and a readiness for action. She leaned back and replied with an amused, calm confidence. All right, but just so you know, things might get interesting. Laxon's eye twitched as he glanced at his advisors. The phrase "hold my beer" echoed in his mind like a forewarning, but with little choice, he nodded and signaled for the council's approval. The mission was set. Captain Reese and her team would lead a strike force to engage the syndicate, their objective to uncover the source of their advanced technology and disrupt their operations. The last stand. Captain Reese's strike team was granted access to the best ships and resources the council could provide, but Reese and her crew chose to make a few improvements on their own, outfitting their ships with custom stealth coatings, jury-rigged countermeasures, and adaptive weapons that could withstand the syndicate's attacks. They tracked the syndicate's movements across 3 star systems, following rumors, fragmented transmissions, and debris fields. After days of pursuit, they located the syndicate's headquarters, an enormous space fortress hidden in the stormy depths of a nebula. As they approached, Reese addressed her team through the comms, her voice filled with determination. All right, folks, this isn't about glory, it's about stopping a force that threatens every being in the galaxy. Let's show them what humans are capable of. The team's only response was a collective, resolute yes, Captain. With cloaked ships and strategically timed maneuvers, Reese's team infiltrated the outer defenses, weaving through the nebula's storms and evading the syndicate's sentries. As they reached the fortress, however, their ship's alarms blared. A massive wave of syndicate fighters emerged from the fortress, weapons blazing. Hold my beer, Reese muttered, rolling her ship into a dive and weaving through the incoming fire with precision. Her team followed, engaging in a chaotic dogfight that pushed their ships and skills to the limit. The syndicate fighters were fast and well-armed, but the humans' unpredictable maneuvers and fearless approach kept them off balance. Just as they reached the outer wall of the fortress, Reese spotted a vulnerable exhaust port that led directly to the fortress's core power systems. Target that port, Reese shouted, guiding her ship to align with it. Her team followed, each of them braving the concentrated fire from the syndicate ships. With a final push, they launched torpedoes directly into the exhaust port, causing a massive chain reaction. The fortress shuddered, and explosions rippled through its structure, tearing it apart from the inside. The galaxy remembers. As the fortress imploded, the remaining syndicate forces scrambled to retreat, their ranks in disarray without their central command. Captain Reese and her team emerged victorious, the syndicate's influence shattered. Back on the council, a massive crowd gathered to welcome them, their cheers resonating through the halls as Reese and her team descended from their ships. High strategist Laxon approached her, his expression an odd mix of awe and caution. Captain Reese, he said, extending a hand. The council owes you its deepest gratitude. Your actions have saved countless lives and secured peace, for now. Reese clasped his hand firmly, her gaze steady. Glad to be of service. But don't be too surprised if we need to say hold my beer again someday. Laxon chuckled, though a shiver of apprehension ran through him. The phrase had become legendary, both feared and respected across the galaxy. Alien officials would forever associate hold my beer with humanity's unparalleled knack for the impossible. As Captain Reese and her team returned to Earth, tales of their bravery spread throughout the stars. Humans were no longer viewed as unpredictable newcomers, they were acknowledged as formidable allies or adversaries. And from that day forward, every time a human muttered hold my beer, the galaxy would raise the threat level to maximum, knowing that humanity had once again risen to the occasion, reshaping the galaxy's view of them forever.